All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be exposing how this market really moves. So today we're looking at the euro dollar on the daily time frame, and what we're going to start with is structure. So where a lot of people get confused is when we're putting in higher highs and higher lows, something like this. What a lot of people get confused is when they go to a different time frame, we're going to be putting in lower lows and lower highs. Okay, so ultimately, we're going to break this down, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know in order to trade with the banks. Okay, institutionally. So what we start with is structure always, and right now I have the daily structure mapped out. Okay, so we have just broke structure to the downside. This is your break of structure. Let's move this to the bottom. Okay, so we can clearly see that price is now putting in lower lows and lower highs. Okay, and what we expect is for price to put in more lower lows and lower highs, especially if we are trending like we are now on the daily. Okay, so looking at this price leg on the daily, we have something like this. Okay, but what people don't understand is that when you go to a different time frame, something like the 4-hour, what you're going to see in this area of price is bullish structure, okay, making higher highs and higher lows, even though the higher time frame is bearish. Okay, and this is where the fractal nature of the market comes into play. The same thing goes for the 15-minute and the 4-hour, and specifically we're just looking at the 4-hour and the daily right now. So this is what our daily structure looks like. Okay, and what it's going to look like on the 4-hour is something like this. Okay, so we're putting in lower lows, lower highs, and then we get that internal realignment, which is right down here. Here is your internal realignment, okay? And now we have something like this. And what we look for price to do is to come up to at least equilibrium or 50% of the leg, which is this area right here at the 0.5, okay, in which we are actually in right now. So if we go ahead and pull our fib from the daily structure high to the daily structure low, we have just come into premium, and we expect price to now start to make lower lows, okay? This is considered a weak low. This is considered a strong high because it broke structure to the downside and created a new low, okay? And in theory, we follow the expectation, which means that this should not be able to put in a new high, and we should wind up taking it, okay? So that's what we follow, and that is the fractal nature of the market. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this fib here from the high to the low just so that you can see it. And then we're going to move down to the 4-hour. Okay, so now we're on the 4-hour time frame, and what we're going to do is mark a little bit of structure where structure needs to be marked. So obviously here is a 4-hour low. We broke this high up here, and we can go ahead and start marking some structure. I'm only going to mark structure where it needs to be marked. Okay, so higher high, lower low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And keep in mind, we've just come into the premium of the daily structure. So we're up in this gray area now on the Fibonacci. Again, the daily looks something like this. Okay, and what you'll notice is the 4-hour, however, if we just zoom into this area of price, is making higher highs and higher lows. Okay, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And then we get that internal realignment, which just took place. Okay, so here is where we look to get into the market. This is where the change of character takes place, and this is the importance of change of characters. Okay, so this was the last demand that put in the high. So this will be your 4-hour change of character. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move it a little bit up just to be exact. Again, this was the last 4-hour demand. And once that goes, that means that we have our internal realignment, and we can start to expect price to do something like this, okay? And we expect this low to go now, okay? So what we're going to do now is go down to the 15-minute time frame, and we're going to look at what caused the change of character. All right, so here is where the change of character took place. And let me just extend this to make it more clear. This is exactly where the 4-hour change of character took place. And what you're going to look for is whatever caused that change of character to take place, whatever caused the last demand to go. And right now, it was this 15-minute supply. Okay, and again, even though the 4-hour has been bullish, right, and we only have a higher low and a higher high in place, once we get this internal realignment, once we get the change of character, we can assume that the daily pullback is over. Let me just go back to the daily, and let me show you this right now. So we can assume that this pullback on the daily is over. Okay, this is a corrective pullback. Again, we are making lower lows on the daily, so we expect this low to go. Okay, this is what we're expecting. We are well priced in premium, and once we get that internal realignment, which is the 4-hour change of character right here, then we can say, okay, sells are in favor and supply is in control. Let's go back down to the 15-minute, and this is exactly where we're going to look to trade off of. So let's go ahead and just play price a little bit. Looks like we're even going to get a little bit of inducement here. So this was the second concept I wanted to go over. Okay, structures first, liquidity is next. And obviously we talked about proper pricing. And now we're going to look to actually get into this market. So here is what we call inducement or liquidity. For those of you who don't know what liquidity is, it's just another form of money. Buy stops, sell stops in the market. Orders that people are putting in place, right? People are trying to buy and sell at this area. Okay, that is what inducement is. The market induces buying, okay, and then they start to sell off, and then they take the buyers, and then they take the sellers, and that happens over and over and over again. Let me just move this to the top. So we have some inducement. We have our supply that ultimately caused the internal realignment. And now we can expect sells. Also note that on the 15-minute time frame, look at what we have here. We're starting to move bearish. Obviously, supply is in control at this point. And what we're going to go ahead and do is go down to the seconds time frame, or even the minute time frame. Me personally, I use everything from the minute under. And we're going to go ahead and wait for a price to tap in, and we're going to look for the same exact thing. What we're looking for is an internal realignment, okay, a change of character, so that we can get in. Okay, and we got it quite yet. Okay, so this was the last demand that put in this high up here. And the first one might not always work. Okay, the first one might not always work. The second one might not always work. But usually on the second or third change of character, it's pretty set in stone, and that's where you can look to take an entry. This market isn't all sunshine and rainbows. You're going to take those minus ones. For example, yes, this demand did go. This was the demand that put in this high, but there was no sort of entry, so we wouldn't have even entered there to begin with. But let me show you how we will enter. So once we get this change of character, what we're looking for is the area that caused it. Okay, so this is your chalk bottom. Again, we swept the highs, we swept the lows. This is your change of character, and we're going to go ahead and pull the calls of that. So I would pull this whole entire this whole candle as my supply, because this was the last sort of printed price that took the low, that took the demand, and that caused the internal realignment. Okay, so we're going to wait for a tap back into that, and we can go ahead and enter on the next bearish engulfment, which we just got here. Okay, so this is where exactly where I would market execute. If you're smart, you would cover the high plus some spread, but for the sake of this video, even 2 pips is fairly small. But I'm totally fine if price comes in and knocks me out here, because I will just be getting in on the next bearish engulfment and covering the high again. So this is exactly where I would have entered, and we're looking to target the 4-hour week low. So let's move back to the 4-hour, and let's just drag this out a little bit here. Okay, this was the last sort of low that we had. And this is our main target. Okay, so that is the last 4-hour low. Let's go ahead down to the 15-minute. Right now, we're looking at about a 1 to 65. You're likely not going to take the whole 65R. You're obviously going to be parceling out on the way. But for the sake of this video, I won't take up too much of your time. You would likely only get 40 some R from this trade with the partials. I'm not going to sit here and say that 60R trades are an everyday thing, because they're absolutely not. Okay, and again, you're just looking to target the 4-hour low. Okay. Again, this low is noted weak because we have that internal realignment, right? And there we just took it right here. That would close you out 65.5 R. And that's how you know when the trend changes. Okay, so once you get the 4-hour change of character, and you're taking into play and you're considering both the daily, the 4-hour, and the 15-minute, things are really going to start to change for you. And if you're interested in this kind of way of trading, definitely join the mentorship. The whole goal of that is to make sure that it's the last stop in your trading journey. And if you want to learn how to trade like this, we do live New York session trading, where we literally sit here live for 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours in the morning, and I trade New York with my students. So yeah, if you're interested in that, the link is in the top of the description. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And you don't want to miss a video, because I'm going to be talking a lot about this stuff in the future. I'll even break down a few of these concepts one by one. I just want to go ahead and map this out really quick. So on the daily, obviously, we are expecting something like this. And just because we go bullish on the 4-hour, which is all these pink dots, that's higher highs and higher lows, doesn't mean that that's going to last forever. We only expect pullbacks to last at least until equilibrium, right? So from the high to the low, we come into premium pricing up here, and we start to sell off. And that 4-hour change of character is the first indication that sells are in play, and this whole entire daily pullback, here is over. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you were able to gain some value out of this, and I'll see you in the next one.